o'clock. Call the meeting order. Notice meeting was properly posted Wednesday, July the 19th, 2017. Item 3, discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the special meeting on 7/11/17.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 4, discussion, review, and possible action regarding an update from staff on county projects specific to TIF 2 reimbursement. A, the annex roof replacement.
No changes on A, B, and C.
Item D, exterior maintenance and lighting.
The contract has been signed, and I believe they're going to start work mid-August.
Controllers for the lighting will be shipped this week from California. Expected to receive them next week, and they'll be installed.
Sir, will you identify yourself for the record? No. Okay, anything else? No. Okay, item E is the 9th floor demo and the elevator associated with.
Demo continues to move along pretty well. Elevator contracts in place. I believe the parts that they need have been ordered. You know when that might get installed?
I don't know. Recall they'll have to frame the openings, install doors, and then work the drawworks to bring the cars to the 9th floor. And I've insisted that they accomplish this before jury weeks begin again in September. So.
August. Last week of August. Can I ask a question about this one? Renee Troxel, Court Administrator.
Sure, Renee.
I come here all the time and I see this, and I know what they're doing on the 9th floor, and it just keeps saying the elevator maintenance. Does that just mean that we're going to take all 3 of those elevators to go up to 9?
One of them already done.
Well, right, but you have to have the special key, but are the other 2 also going to be made to go to the 9th floor? Okay, that's my only question. I keep seeing that on there, and I didn't know what the plan was, so that's all.
All right, anything else? Okay, item F, the 9th floor repurpose.
I believe we've got some spaces laid out for District 2 and District Attorney. Has this board approved those drawings? No, neither one of them. So we need to bring that in probably the next meeting.
I need to meet one more time with the people with the center and with David Prater to make certain that these plans are generally what they want. They're pretty good. They're pretty well defined at this point, but I think another meeting with them to go over them again and get it in order.
So you'll be seeing a plan fairly soon on your agenda to consider.
Item G, the jail lower roof.
Continues to progress well. There will be one small change order. Found some of the decking that wasn't very good after we got the roof pulled off. $3,000. Yeah, pretty benign.
Okay, and the jail fire notification.
Dan's not here.
Dan's not here, but I believe that's complete.
What else?
We're green tag as of last meeting.
How about a motion to remove item H from our list? It's not really within the
It's not within the TIF.
so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Hey, Stace, just kind of a general question for you, or Keith, or actually probably Chantel knows, how we're doing with our budget and
That would be, well, item 8 is the TIF 8 budget. The TIF 2 budget's specifically not on here, but we can do that next time. I'll put a TIF 2 budget in the next meeting.
or we can just be included under item 4. Item 4 is a general.
Start putting this budget.
Okay.
This item on here.
Sorry, thank you. You guys have anything else on item 4?
Nothing for me. Motion to receive.
Second. Second, all in favor? Aye. Item number 5 is discussion review and possible action regarding remediation of the mold at the Oklahoma County Jail. Stacy,
We had,
remember?
we had a pre-work meeting this morning, and the notice to proceed was given to them this morning. I'm not sure exactly the day they're gonna start, but their time started today.
Move to receive.
Motion?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye. Item number 6, discussion, review, and possible action regarding building Southfield Oklahoma County Jail and the associated drawings. You guys recall, the city wanted some type of, information regarding potential uses of that property before discussions really moved any further. Last meeting, we asked Stacy to kind of work with the sheriff's office to determine uses, possible uses, et cetera. So I think,
And I have met with Jack Heron and his staff, and they've seen this plan. They like this plan. What you've got running north-south there, kind of on the west side, is a drive-through lane with overhead doors from north and south, so you can drive right past the kitchen, right past the laundry to do any kind of drop-off or pick-up. Trucks move stuff back and forth to the main jail. We got a kitchen, laundry, dry storage, weekend dormitory, and office space in this roughly 32,000 square foot building. The associated parking lot next to it's still just left a parking lot, but there's, various things that can be done with that in the future. It actually fits in there pretty good. The weekend dormitory is a little small for what they really would like to have, and especially when you got to consider you need to break out men and women's facilities, which we really didn't do on this drawing, but it lets you know that we plan to do that. The laundry's kind of big, so I think you could take away some laundry space and increase your dormitory, but that becomes a kind of a small detail for later. I think this drawing, as it sits now, lets the city know our intentions.
With the new road going across that we required, how are we gonna move food from the kitchen to the jail?
Well, like I said, you can put it on trucks and truck it around to the back docks of the main jail.
The aisleway that runs north to south between the two parking garage, or parking, garage doors, the overhead doors, allows you to come in, load, offload, whatever needs to be done with both laundry and food. I think you can make access and egress from either location.
You want to see that overhead door in the aisleway in that existing picture.
Where's the drawing that Gordon did? It makes sense. If semi-trucks or bobtail trucks, anything needs to be dropped off for the kitchen, that area where you see receiving, there are 2 garage doors, one on the west, one on the east. So deliveries can be made in that area. Those 2 items that you see just south of receiving is a walk-in cooler and walk-in freezer that they use. So frozen and chilled items could be offloaded and stocked there. I think the layout is useful and serves purpose. And again, any finished products or anything that would need to be dropped off, or any maintenance, for example, is made easier by that aisle running north to south on the west end of the building.
What action do we need to take at this point?
well, I think maybe a couple of things. You guys recall the board, Willa has been appointed as kind of the contact person between the city and the county on this project. So if we could get a recommendation, realizing for those that are watching that this is just a conceptual idea, very far from actually coming to fruition. Money, obviously, there's a number of things that we would need from the city. One of the things, I don't know if you've been there yet, but going through there, environmentals, I think, would be very important for us to review before we would take possession of the building. But in order to further those discussions along, I think just a motion to recommend that the board forward this conceptual plan on to the city, request environmental and any other necessary documents that Stacy or the DA's office or Keith would need to move the discussions along even more.
So moved.
There's a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, guys. Item number 7, discussion.
Can we jump to the budget first, I think it'll help before we go back to 7.
So Stacy would like to go to item 8, discussion, review, and possible action regarding the 8 budget. Stacy?
That was Wayne's work. We need to, if we grab some extra copies. Files that asked for this to be on, actually, I'll just start off with
Thank you, sir.
where we started to refresh everybody's memory. All we had back years ago was conceptual. If you look on that page, the $4 million ask, this is kind of how we'd broken it out. Right out the gate, if you look at the HVAC item, we had that set in there at $750,000 because all we thought we were going to do was change the controls out from and that's not what we ended up doing. We ended up doing a complete rehaul of the HVAC system. So the $750,000 project went to over $2 million. So the $4 million project became well over $5 million. We had $900,000 of local money that we took with the $4 that we're getting from OSU property. That's where it came from. But we were still over budget. So we've been able to do some things.
Don't do it again, we'll have to talk about that.
Being pretty budget conscious, we've been able to fit the project in to the 4.9 that we have.
Thank you.
And we're in okay shape on the budget. So we were able to overcome that first hurdle. And you'll see at the top there in the summary of what number 10 is. There's the $4 million TIF and the $900,000 seed money for the 4.9 project. The next grouping is the actual expenditures to date. And then the next grouping is the projected expenditures for the spaces we still have to do, which is your assembly, DA, civil, the public defender, and D3. The biggest one and the hardest one is going to be the plumbing contract, all the bathrooms in this building. Asbestos is involved in every single location we go to. And then the west end of the first floor, that was originally going to be District 2. They're now going over to the other building, but the space and the budget still sits there. I would assume you still want to build that space out for whoever you decide is going to occupy that. So that leaves us with a fund balance of about $53,000. But Wednesday of this week, we have to meet with United Mechanical. Their contract is expired. They had to go through union negotiations on all their contracts with other people. So there will be an upcharge going forward that we're gonna have to pay. So that fund balance is probably gonna get eat up. Maybe not all of it, but I've gotta hold it for at least that. And we still may have some change orders on the original contract. But that being said, I think the projected numbers, I've got a little contingency on all those, 10 or 15%. So I feel pretty good that we're gonna come in on budget, as long as we don't do anything too crazy in these spaces. I want you to kind of have that perspective before we discuss any specific spaces. And refresh your memory on how we got to this point.
You guys have any questions?
Sometimes I do want you to be thinking about is that west end and first floor. What would we do with that? Through the 3 or 4 years we've been working on this, different ideas have been thrown out. I don't know enough about Grant Billings' operation, know if it fits over there size-wise or location-wise, but that's been talked about. That free some space up in the ICB that you could rent out, increase your cash position. A health and wellness center's been talked about.
Let's take, even realizing that we're talking about $60,000, let's just take that possible use of space up under number 7, if we could, that way there's no question. So, motion to receive on 8.
Let me ask you a question before we move there. I wanted to know about potential timelines that we might have for these things. Is that more appropriate under item 7 as well?
Well, yeah, because I think, Randy, that's a good point. Stace, it was a 4-year window to get this done, is that correct?
Actually, I went back through the contracts, and there is no timeline in the contract that the city gave us, which is a benefit to us. I think it's an oversight on their part, and I think they wish they would have put a timeline in.
Okay. That's new information.
That's on the TIF A.
Okay.
I talked to Brent Bryan, he's the city contact quite often, and he's wanting us to speed along. He would like, to get this thing closed up, but we're a ways away. We're not gonna make, that timeline.
What timeline?
Well, we don't have one right now.
Right.
You're exactly right. I used to print that bar chart out, and it was obsolete before it came off the printer.
And it was 4 years?
Yes. So I quit wasting my time doing that. We tend to, and I kind of agree with the decision, we tend to preserve cash and let schedule slide. If you want to increase the schedule, you got to throw some money at it. We've never really been in a position to be able to throw money at anything. That's the trade-off.
Move to receive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, discussion, review, and possible action regarding the ongoing space utilization plan implementation for the annex building, including but not limited to the first floor jury assembly room spaces. Please, somebody.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion put in on this layout.
Here you go.
I think the court administrator and the clerk's office and Keith and my office, we've all worked on this and gotten it really close. The concerns, the reason I want to talk about budget first is this check-in station
For the jury will cost very much, but there's the court clerk had a desire to put the glass in the cash windows.
and that's probably about a $25,000 deal, and then the audio visual for the room, and then the bathrooms on the south wall. Those three items alone are over 50% of what we budgeted for this room, so we're not gonna be able to do everything.
Glass, cash windows, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And where,
It's termed the jury check-in, and it's located
right here.
I met with Rick Warren and Mike Sullivan to determine what they would like to have, or what they would need to have in terms of a cash receiving station. And based on our discussions, I came up with a layout, this design, and then priced that out, and that's the figures I put
Okay,
back.
time out. Cash, it's jury check-in. Why are we taking cash from jurors?
Well, it's an operational thing that we have talked about for quite some time. Instead of all these people going up to the fourth floor, using the elevators to pay their fines or whatever they pay, to have them do it on the first floor. So conceptually, that makes sense.
And then,
The question I have is having it inside this room.
well, more importantly, for traffic court, we currently will send defendants from the fifth floor down to the fourth floor to make a payment, then back up to the fifth floor to show their receipts to the judge. And so, more importantly, for traffic court, you've got it all contained in one place.
Because traffic court takes place in the jury assembly room.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
We currently, when we have check-in for traffic court, we currently have the little hallway that goes into the jury assembly room, and then they can line up down the ramp. And so, having it inside the room then helps to have them lined up inside the room. You got the first floor elevators right there, you got the security area right there. You don't want people backing up into the hallway.
But what are we gonna do with, when people come to pay and we have juries going on? And so you have all the jurors trying to check in and people trying to
Right,
pay.
you won't have it for that dual purpose. And we're not staffed for the dual purpose right now. That's kind of a long-term, hope that one day we'll be able to have a cashier down there all the time. But right now, traffic court and jury will be the primary uses of that area.
And you'll have to forgive me because usually when I go up to your offices, it's over on the filing side, not necessarily over on the paying side, so to speak. Do you have this kind of set up now with the glass and things like that?
Is traffic court once a month?
Twice a month, first and third Fridays.
And so what's the cost of the glass and whatnot? I think you were kind of
Well, that's
close.
$25,000. So that really is only going to be used for the cash collection twice a month.
At this point, because we don't have the staff. Now, I don't know what do they do for payments for sheriff's sale? Because they hold the sheriff's sale in that room.
Well, I don't know, but they're not gonna be able to use that for your sheriff's sales anyway, because that's all gonna be on a different system. They're not paid into the court clerk system, do they? On the sheriff's sales? I mean, they don't come from the sheriff's sales to your office, right?
Yeah, they do.
Do
They
they?
come in, they have to pay their
Yeah.
10%.
Oh, well, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that would cut out the sheriff's sale, having to go someplace else too.
Right.
And it'd be used obviously for the juror check-in, that's not a cash transaction.
So what?
The bid, the winning bid?
I mean, I don't know, I'm just speculating that might be something that,
I don't think that happens right then and there on the sheriff's sale. I'm
they have a certain period of time.
They 24 hours.
But it all does get paid for.
You can never do the cash transactions at the same time you're trying to conduct a jury instruction.
No, because, no, and it would have to be closed during jury, because those jurors have to be sequestered from the rest of the building, and you can't just have people thrown through
So
the.
my question, I agree it should be on the first floor, but can it be on the end of the hallway? I mean,
We got a lot of space on the west end, really.
Yeah.
Not if you're gonna use it as jury check-in, obviously,
Right.
we're trying to do
but
it
you
for
don't
a
need,
purpose.
you don't need glass
West
and
end.
cash drawers and stuff for jury check.
No, but the glass would be helpful for traffic court. You do, I mean, right now, it's a little dicey sometimes in the way we do traffic court check-in, in that small space, without any separation.
Okay, so my question, Stace, what are you asking of us today? The board has already signed off on this
No.
being the jury assembly room
Yes.
and emergency management. Are you asking us to make a recommendation to them that they sign off on the drawing?
Yeah, because we're almost to the point we're starting to build out, so we need to, if not today, by the next meeting, we need a motion to move it onto the board for this being the final layout. But from a budget standpoint, we're gonna have to maybe wire the place for the audio visual and then not put it in right now, or some of these kind of decisions.
Well,
are-
with
are ask
regard to
more
that,
money
Mike
the-
or Renee or somebody, since this is primarily turning into use of the courts, what money is available from the state to help us offset some of the wiring costs?
None.
None.
No, the Chief Justice has said that we're being moved, that would be the county's responsibility. We didn't have to be moved.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm just telling you straight up what we've been told by the person that has the ability to give or not give.
What's the audio-visual component, Chief Bush?
Well, you know, has a BOCC room where they conduct their meeting, has some screens and sound and that sort of thing.
Speakers so that anybody, after you're trying to direct traffic, can enunciate.
How do we we currently have a microphone system in the jury assembly room. Okay, so are we talking about,
A little bit newer technology than,
okay, let me ask it this way. So, besides microphone and speakers to amplify sound, what exactly are we talking
they'd ask for
about?
the same TV screens that we have in the BOCC room to be located in multiple locations.
Didn't that have something to do with ADA?
It has to do with ADA compliance, and now we have to have a visual. We've kind of been grandfathered in because of our current location, but I believe now when we call it, we do have hearing impaired jurors, and we actually have interpreters that come, and we've had hearing impaired jurors seated on the jury, so we need a way for them to be able, if they can't hear, to see their name. So, that's the main thing, is an ADA issue. It doesn't have to, I mean, we're not talking about it.
Well, accommodations, you don't necessarily have to have audio visual if you have an interpreter available, correct?
Well, that's not correct, because not all people that are hearing impaired actually do sign language. It may simply be, I mean, there's a difference in whether one needs a sign language interpreter or if sight is their way.
Who pays for that?
Who pays for the interpreter? We do. Court.
But I
So,
think we don't.
in order to help make it accessible, you pay for an interpreter, but you won't help pay for the audio visual?
I'm telling you what the Chief Justice said.
I
You're
understand,
asking me
Renee,
the question.
I understand that, I understand, you're just delivering a message, I understand.
And we wouldn't necessarily bring in an interpreter unless they were selected for a jury, right?
No, that is not accurate. We do have an interpreter there, and the interpreter would remain there. It's more for people that have limited hearing abilities versus ones that actually need the hearing impaired interpreter. Because you have those, and the statute provides, the different ways for that to be accommodated. And with that large room, that's, I mean, now, is that it would be nice to have those screens, obviously. If that's not something that you're willing to do, we at least have to have the sound system. That,
I think what we'd set in there to kind of meet the compliance, so we thought was about $75,000 for the audio visual, 25 in the cash cages, 40 into that bathroom, which is $140, which is more than half of the cost of the room, and I just don't see us being able to, because there's a lot of flooring, a lot of ceiling, that's gotta be put in. The seating's gonna be, you know, we're just gonna bring that down from upstairs, so that's safe.
We have some additional, seating that we'll have to purchase and modify to fit this configuration.
So a little bit of seating, not a big cost on that.
What is the how did you come up with the 75,000?
We took what was spent in the BOCC meeting room and adjusted that.
It's just an estimate, but it should be pretty close.
It sounds awfully high to me.
How many screens did they ask?
The LCC's was like double that.
Where's the drawing where,
And we won't need any iPads.
of all the locations that they were?
I didn't ask for 7 screens, by the way.
No, we were just talking about
Where
where,
it's still.
Is that one your boss uses during those meetings? Yes.
where screens need to be positioned. We went through this exercise
Showing your boss how to use it.
when we configured the event room out at Lincoln. You can buy a 42 or 44 inch screen for $700 or $800. The trouble is, you put a screen like that on this wall, these people can't see this. So you either have to use larger screens or more of them so that people can see. I don't know what is required. We can,
I believe that, at least initially, you would only need 2 screens. One behind where the judge is sitting, and one in the area over here where essentially the jury's taking the snake line that we have to feed 400 people through there in 30 minutes time.
We think that ensuring that each list of jury space for particular courtroom, organizing that.
Well, we could eventually do that, but that's not something, I mean, that would be wonderful at some point.
Do the screens will need
Go
to
ahead,
be
Randy.
made for a translator in the jury assembly room, just for calling jurors?
By statute, the juror is allowed to make the determination as whether they want one or not, and if they call and request one under the ADA, I don't have a choice but to get them one, even if I've got the screen. Yeah, that's statutory.
My question is, have we explored other alternatives like a screen and a projector and a laptop? I mean, instead of mounting actual monitors, television screens, smart boards. Again, I don't know what all we're talking about. I've heard 7 different, I assume, mounted screens and things like that. I mean, what we're trying to figure out is we're over budget on this project is what I'm hearing. If we do all of these things that are being proposed, which I get, I mean, I've worked with architects and they come in, they design the Taj Mahal and they want cherrywood everything at first, and then you have to actually say, that's all great, fine, but that's way outside of our budget. So the question is, I mean, again, if you have a screen that lowers behind the judges and a projector, that it doesn't have to even be mounted permanently. We looked at alternatives and things like that would be a workable solution and a fraction of the cost that's being thrown around right now.
the setup you're describing is between $15,000 and $20,000, using a retractable screen, a projector mounted in the ceiling, and the associated sound.
Other than mics, and I understand the need for the cashier's cages or whatever and possible uses going forward, who put the wish list together on the audiovisual?
There's really an assembly process. We met with Judge Henderson, Renee, myself, trying to decide what needs to be there. So me is the answer to your question.
Okay,
At the end of the day.
Going back to Randy's point, did we just kind of sit down, and I'm not picking at you.
I can.
Sit down and this is what everybody wants, so we just...
Try and establish what would we like to have, and then understandably, we'll have to pare down the budget.
It's our building, so we have an obligation on ADA. I fully understand ADA. So we have an obligation. But we have an obligation to provide a reasonable accommodation. And understanding that we don't have to provide necessarily exactly what everybody wants, so long as we can provide the information to someone who needs it.
True.
And so, given that Stacy has talked about that the budget is close, Randy pointed it out again, I think maybe you all need to sit back down and determine exactly what you need, what'll work, and then we can move forward. A room this size, you're gonna probably need assistive listening devices, I would assume. So that would be what I'd like to do. Now, with regard to trying to move forward, we can approve all but the technology side of things and perhaps the cages. And you guys can get started. I mean, how long before you would need to know the final answer on that?
We could do that this week if we're just discussing the audio-visual needs that you have to run your operation, and then what we need this to look like if we don't need glass cages. I don't know what the jury check-in procedure is, if they use card tables or what, but
It's electronic now. Fortunately, they have a barcode that gets scanned as they come in, and part of the reason for that jury check-in over there is to do the snake line through and get everyone through and have 2 or 3 people sitting there to get them checked in and seated so they're not out in the hallway. So, but I think that can clearly be done without the glass and without all of that right now. And if we find that there's still money to do that part of it, I mean, the traffic court issue and being able to have the tickets paid that day right there takes a lot of wear and tear on the elevators, it takes a lot of frustrations, and it would be very, very nice. However, right now, the jury assembly room and getting those people checked in, time in, out of the way is what we need to get right now.
just removing the glass component from this concept saves $10,000. The glass could be added at a later date if you wanted to do that. The doors, you know, that could probably be brought down to $10,000-12,000 figure if you built cabinetry. And depending on how extravagant you want it to be, you could maybe.
Currently have, it says granite countertops.
Mm-hmm.
And that's certainly not a request.
It says countertop, $3,000.
I'd rather have glass than granite.
So building an entirely new structure versus using an existing structure?
Again, I think, and Renee can speak to this, the location that she's talking about has to
I
do.
did discuss that here, we were talking about the countertop. I'm sorry.
Field of vision, I think, is what, and how they intend to bring people in and around. I think she can speak to that.
I don't know what the question was, so I can't speak to this since it's another question.
Why? You asked the
Why
question.
new versus using existing?
What's the existing that you're talking about? There's not an existing case there.
It's much easier to put a hole in a wall and much cheaper than building an entirely new structure at $25,000.
No. Because of the way that we're doing the jury check-in, if I've got the people back in here that are checking folks in, they can't see what's going on out here. They need to be here so they can see what's going on in the room. Now, granted, they're not going to see this one little snake line area over here, but they need to be able to see this entire area. And this is for safety. And
For safety behind security?
And right here is where we're putting the vending machines and all, so that we don't have people that are trying to get up to the 3rd floor, the 4th floor, wherever. So this area is already being utilized for another purpose.
We've got a vending machine snack bar 60 foot away.
You sure do. And we need more right here for those people, because that's not nearly large enough. If we take a 10 o'clock break for 400 people on break to go right there, if they can be getting their sodas and stuff right here. We have one right now in the jury assembly room right out there so that folks can do that. We're trying to make this to where we can control all of this as much as possible. Everyone can see what's going on. This is truly
from the court's perspective, from the court clerk's perspective, for us to be in this area the way it needs to be situated to best fulfill our needs.
What would be the cost comparison?
What do you want this?
You got an existing door. If we're worried about security, I don't think there's much more secure than those walls that are concrete and lead. We could put a window in over here on the other side for sight lines.
Right. You could probably do that for $4,000 or $5,000. Couple walls, install windows, and then use ready-made cabinetry inside.
Not your area.
Well, that's what I'm saying here.
You're here.
This is the existing.
Right.
How many vending machines are you talking about?
How many do you currently have to serve 400 people?
There's, what, 3 or 4 in that? It's the old smoking room. There's 4 of them in there.
How many are we talking about right here?
We were looking at more than that, but I don't recall the exact number that we were looking at.
That wasn't ever specified. When I did load calculation on the HVAC needs for that space, I used 6 vending machines.
And that's where I'm going. I'm no HVAC expert, but in an enclosed area with machines that create heat, is what we have contemplated for this area sufficient?
Now, we'd have to do something in addition there to accommodate the heat load that's going to be.
And where does that money come from?
I haven't.
State budget, that's another thing you get in cost.
So,
They're saying it's gonna cost more money to heat that area with the vending machines. That's the question I was talking about.
I don't think he's cool.
Or cool, yeah, heat that area.
And then, the discussion was made, all right, well, this could be made an entire opening here, which would alleviate some of the issues. Could it not be used for a dual purpose? When jurors come in, you check them in here, and when there's a break, they come back in and use the...
My concern is truly the ability for the court clerk's office to be able to see and have a full command of that space. And so, I'm going to defer to our clerk on that. I can tell you that when we discussed this with the presiding judge, with Rick Warren, with Mike and myself, the consensus was moving it to that area on this side where you guys are talking about now is not going to serve the court's needs the way that we feel like they need to be served. They need to be over there.
I understand that, Renee, but now what we're hearing is in order to serve the court's needs, put in the required requisite number of vending machines, there's a cost that as yet is undetermined. There's audio visual that we need that's undetermined. So we may need to, and I hate it because I'd like to just say go ahead and finish this thing because I'm tired of dealing with it personally. I'm sure you guys are too, right? But there probably needs to be some, at least consideration to being willing to rethink in order to maximize the dollars. And I think that's all we're trying to do.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I don't see the audio-visual system needing to be a $75,000 system.
I like that.
I don't. I see it to be more important to have that cashier's area over there than I do to have a $75,000 audio-visual system. My understanding about and here's part of the issue that we've run into. As you know, when we first discussed this, these are all things that we've known all along we needed, with the exception maybe of the juror check-in area being a little larger to serve a dual purpose. there was not, I think even when we talked about it, any idea that the heat and air equipment was gonna take up that much space. So it's caused us to have to reconsider a little bit too, as to having these chairs back here. That wasn't really something that was necessarily contemplated. That was considered needing to be open, but we don't get the seating we need without having this back here. And so we've had to look at some of these things differently. So we're willing to look at all of this differently, but there are certain things that just from the line of sight and safety issues, and especially the, you know, we bring the jurors in here and go through a snake line, so we get them immediately out of the lobby area, because we've got to have a lot of them in here early. And then once they get in there, that you don't want them at 7:38 in the morning clogging up this space. So that's part of the reason for the configuration, and in doing that, the best place is to put your juror check-in is over here. Because then we get this space back again for our bailiffs, because we've lost that entire crossover area that we could use for bailiffs to meet with jurors once they're selected. So we have to have this area now. So all of this works. Would we like to be able to have a $75,000 audiovisual center? Sure. I get that. I don't know that I ever knew the exact budget for just that area. I may have seen it at one point in time. We've been doing this for 2 years. I'm not saying I never saw it. But we are trying to help save some money by utilizing all of those benches that we already have. I think these are the only ones that have to be purchased. So that's, yeah, we are certainly willing to talk about all of that.
I don't know how to proceed moving forward. I mean, the thing is,
Well, the issues are at least on the table.
Sure.
To be thinking about, it's been a good discussion. You've got a couple of little, probably details to work out on the jury check-in is not a big cost. It's when you try to do the dual purpose with the cash collections, it's adding some money.
And $10,000?
Well, it's actually more than that with the glass, and then you got the drawers and so forth. Micah, what's something for you to think about, is that where you really want that operation, or the whole west end, as Miles said, is available? Haven't even talked about it, nobody's spoken for it, as I said here today.
Well, just visualizing either jury or traffic court check-in. I guess the sheriffs would say go in and check in at the other end of the hall, and then we'd send them down there at the other end of the hall to go in. I could go to the jury assembly room, and we're going to use the area at the other end of the hall for check-in.
Not check-in,
Just paying.
Paying.
Could you
Check-in
use,
still where check-in is.
Mike, could you use this vending area if a large enough window were cut? That serves a couple of purposes. It puts your cash collections at least in this space, and also provides some air circulation for the heat generating equipment. If we were careful and deliberate as to how we designed this simple counter, that might be an option.
Or just take out the line walls.
Well, we're not gonna get anywhere with that, right? I mean, just gonna sit here.
I mean, you're talking about, you have to put windows on two sides for line of sight.
I'm just talking about for your cash collections, you're talking about, your,
Separate
Right.
check-in from cash collections, because they're two separate functions. The check-in for the jury and the check-in for the traffic court is the same spot. Check-in is check-in. Now we're talking about cash collections, which is a different function, can be somewhere else.
True.
That's the, That's the question that we're asking.
And would that still accommodate the vending space?
I just have a general question about the jury check-in. It's like 324 square feet of space. That seems large, is it not?
So,
For a check-in area? I don't know, but it seems big.
we use the space in that hallway, now entering, I'm sure that's a similar size.
The hallway going into the,
And the crossover between, we use the walkway between the two.
Right.
For lining up, but yeah, talking about.
For losing that ability. Come look on the the last Monday in August, we'll be checking in jurors again, come watch.
Well, and one of the things that we currently have to do is we actually have to check the jurors in up front because of the line of sight issues. For traffic court, we can use the hallway, but for jurors, we have to check them in up front, and so, later writing jurors, when Rick is in there welcoming jurors, when the presiding judge is in there, welcoming jurors that week, you got people walking up in front of them, while they're speaking. It's not ideal.
I get a jury summons, Mike. I think Renee said they're barcoded now. So I get a jury summons with a barcode, correct?
Right.
You use a scanner to read that?
Yeah.
Is it a handheld?
Yeah,
Is it
it's like grocery store.
like a,
Yeah.
right. So do you have to have a permanent location?
They're not wireless scanners, are they?
No, they're plugged into a computer.
Yeah, so you can't walk around with them, in other words.
I'm sure that's technology that's out there that's available, but
Chick-fil-A does it.
And every grocery store.
Right.
around.
The Apple Store does it too, but.
You get registered for your wedding and they give you a deal and you sit there and point and shoot. And it all feeds back to a computer.
I can go back through electronic filing for traffic signals, but that's the computer system we're dealing with. We're not Chick-fil-A or Apple.
Well, I'm not suggesting that, I'm trying to educate myself, and so, you guys want help, you want it the way you want it, but yet we ask questions, and it turns into we're suggesting it's Chick-fil-A or something else. We're not. I'm trying to understand the process. So as I'm understanding it, they're gonna come in over here, come through this area. Renee, is that right?
I'm sorry.
Come down the hallway, come in over here, snake all the way back.
Yeah, so we snaking through this area, we'll have a snake, those.
If the line's that long,
Have the snake on it
that's a pretty
comes
big
in.
space. I don't think the line's gonna be longer than.
And so the point of my question was, why can't we get them up front rather than have to process them through all the way here? Why can't we?
Why can't we get them when they first enter? Because when they line up backwards, if they're lined up outside, they're gonna be lined up in the hallway and in front of the elevators and in front of security and all that. So that was
Well, that was my question about the barcode. How fast is it truly? I mean, is it a matter of you scan and you go, or you present an ID? What's the process?
With the jurors, it's relatively quick. With traffic court, it is not. Most of them don't have their ticket. A lot of them don't have their driver's license, how they got down here, I'm not sure. That's a little longer process.
How many appear at traffic court?
It just depends. I mean, it can be anywhere from, there used to be 800 on the docket, and it can be anywhere from 200 to 500 typically. You've seen those Fridays when they're lined up all the way down the ramp and around the corner in front of the courtrooms. That's not every time, but if it's ever, it's gonna be a nightmare.
So, to what Joe's question is, Mike, is it possible to check jurors in right here and any that have issues? So you have one little station here to check in any that have issues, have to come to a different place, so we're not having as large an area?
Now you're talking about double staffing.
Okay, never mind. Because not a lot of them, there are some that show up without, they know they're supposed to be there.
Right.
And you have to
And that's what we currently do,
That's
so
rare.
you've got the court clerk's stations on either side
Right.
of the bench right now.
Right.
And the first station, they'll do the real quick ones, and if they can't do it, then they send them over to the second station for the troubleshooting.
Okay.
And the way that the current setup works with that
Still stuff.
kind of entryway that they come through before they come into the jury assembly room, do they snake back and forth, or is it kind of a straight line there?
Line up down the ramp.
So it's a straight line out that kind of foyer area, if you will, and then down the ramp.
For you, current process, if we were going to go up today to watch, as they're checking in, they would come to the front. Is that correct?
Right.
And we can't do that in the new configuration plan?
Well, we can, that's just not the ideal. When you have the court clerk up there welcoming the jurors, when you have that week's presiding judge welcoming the jurors, and you have people walking in up to the front to check in while all this going on, it's hard for the 500 people in the room to focus on what's being said. I'm not saying we can't do it, it's just not, I mean, it's a snafu in the process now. I'm not sure why we recreate it.
Static.
With regard to timelines on check-in and stuff like that, so they're told to get here
I'd have to look at.
proceeding, well, I'm assuming that Rick doesn't go up there, or you don't go up there at 9 o'clock to welcome the jurors.
We ask them to get there by 8, and typically by 10 after 8, when he does it, I'd say 80% of them have come in and checked in.
How many people are we talking about?
On the show up for jury duty, 500-ish, between 400 and 500 typically.
What do you want to do?
I think
We get beat up because we're not making any progress.
we can make a recommendation on everything but that. So they can get moving on the things you need to know to finish.
So the two areas you're talking about not recommending are the audio-visual system and the juror check-in, is that what you're?
The vending machines, because there may be a cost associated with that on cooling beyond what they had previously identified. Why don't we just, therefore,
Sounds great.
do you anticipate changes in this area, Keith? If we were to, everything that we're talking about with the courts is behind this proposed jury check-in.
Well, audio,
Well, yeah,
which will be, I mean, one of the drawings I saw was here, on call. I mean, there was screens everywhere. It was one of the greatest places to watch the Super Bowl in the world.
this is not, all the line for AV is through the ceiling, is that correct?
Yeah, that's
There's nothing, no conduit running through the floor?
correct.
So we do have a little bit of time on that still. But if we tell y'all to start with that,
Yeah, I think
or
this,
recommend,
we've had a good meeting and all the issues are on the table, you understand them. It's just a prioritization maybe to fit the money now. And, we can get started on the east end. You can start, building the judge's bench basically and come this way. And then by the next meeting, maybe we'll have these other issues on there.
What's the cost on that?
I don't have the cost exactly just yet. We can do the same kind of thing we've done. I don't have that number, but it's within, it will be within budget.
How many people do they need up there?
Well,
The judge,
well, for their purposes, 2 or 3 spots at one level for judges and then support staff. What I had thought about is this could be used, for a budget board if necessary, so space enough up here for, 7 or 8.
We've got a place for a budget board.
Okay.
Well, I thought,
For other meetings, it's a public space.
I thought we seem to have had a great structure in the old BOCC room that would probably go nicely in there and save some money.
That's not right. That thing was a piece of junk, and we had to tear it up and blow it out.
Okay.
So the folks tasked with overseeing the construction of this, would you like to have it all wrapped up in one nice little tidy bow, all the decisions made, or would you prefer that we recommend to the board at least getting started on something?
Tie it in a bow before you take it to the next board.
Okay, then that being said,
Motion to defer or table.
no,
No action.
well, if we don't do action, then we end up in the same place, right? We come back and they want this, we're thinking this, so, I mean, my thought would be that we put some kind of subcommittee, give some instruction to Stacy and them. I mean, right, we know that there's a potential cost here that we don't know what it is. So, you know, they've talked with Mike and with Renee and the judge and Mr. Warren, but some kind of more, them being present, you've at least heard some of the issues. And if we all dig our heels in, we're not gonna go anywhere. So,
I'd like to see what the cost is for the build out here for that to get the jury check in and the money window or whatever versus the 25 best guess here.
so moved. So that's one motion.
Second.
That's to instruct staff to develop,
A cost analysis between the 2 rooms. Motion and second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Now, we need to,
Motion to develop a AV plan within a certain budget.
Second.
Wait a second.
well,
I know it's lunchtime, Randy. This is the legislature.
I assume you want to meet ADA requirements, but it's not,
well,
cost effective as we can.
We
I
have to
mean,
make a
you
motion
could
for that.
present, I think scalable options, right? So we have this much money to begin with, this meets the minimum requirements of the ADA, and then we can, okay, for this much money more, you can add this, you get this. I think that's kind of what we need to have an idea of. And I think in that regard, you need to visit with Renee and Mike, and so we know, you know, what is it you really have to have versus the wish list.
Yeah, that's true.
So, a motion to instruct Keith and Stacy to visit with the court clerk and the court administrator regarding AD and present us a scalable plan.
Second.
Okay, all right?
Third.
Okay, now, do you need anything else?
We need to vote on that.
I thought we did. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, all right. Then,
Third would be motion to proceed with the construction of the building.
Well, the ceiling's probably not gonna change, so we can go ahead and start, once we get the utilities up there.
Where you've got all your, these are all built, but these have to be reconstructed, is that correct?
Some of the benches, to meet that configuration will have to be altered.
question for you. On your first motion that we did, you know, to develop cost estimates, et cetera, we instructed them to develop that. Could we go back and maybe revise that so that once they have that, they can get with Mike and Renee? So we're not doing this again. Right, they know what it is, they're not coming in and then
Okay. Motion to amend.
Okay, so how about a motion to, reconsider Miles's motion regarding the jury check-in and the vending area? So is there a motion to reconsider?
Second.
Why are we reconsidering?
So that we don't get back in here again once they develop these cost estimates and the feasibility of doing something different than what's on this drawing, and then Mike and Renee are sitting in here and we're back in the same place again going, okay, so there's a motion to reconsider. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there was a second. Okay. Now, if you will amend your motion, or change your, a new motion.
The same motion, develop a cost analysis and then instruct Keith and Stacy and any other necessary staff to discuss with court clerk and court administrator and anybody else they see necessary.
Okay.
Enthusiastically second.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
All right. Motion and an enthusiastic second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, the final bit is to make a recommendation to the VOCC to proceed with this portion of construction. Everybody can see that? This point forward.
The easternmost.
Although that, does that go counter to Stacy's recommendation of tie everything up into
Well, it would.
a package before we recommend sending it on? So that
Yeah, it does, Randy. Good point. Good point. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we're done with this? You guys, anything else on this one?
Joe, it's not indirect question of the primary discussion we've been having. There's been questions in regard to my little emergency management office. They were basically not wanting to do stuff in the ceiling, i.e. drop, network drops and stuff until we got some clarification on what you've been discussing today. Do you guys see any reason why they can't go ahead with network drops and ceiling issues?
What we were waiting for there was the AV work to take place and then the VAV unit to be.
Right, Chris was a little concerned that we didn't know how today's discussion was gonna go, if there'd be a reconfiguration.
That will affect it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That was kind of, maybe like,
New business.
All right, so that concludes item 7. Item 9, new business. Item 10, citizen participation. Item 11, board comments. Randy?
always a pleasure doing business.
Miles. Okay. Item 11, none for me. Item 12 is to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.